What's more important when it comes to fat loss? Diet or exercise? And is there a magical ratio of the two that burns the most fat in the shortest amount of time? And the answer? It's a lot simpler than you might think, but I understand the confusion you might be feeling. I see those hundreds of experts and fitness and nutrition gurus out here pitching fear every single week, using misinformation and confusion to scare you into buying whatever it is they're selling you. When it comes to diet, there are so many fads to chase. Extreme workout plans too. And depending on who's talking, theirs is the only one that works to fix the problem you're having. And all the other ones, they're just going to lead to failure and disappointment. Eat these foods, avoid those, drink this, not that. This will melt fat. And those things you've done every day of your life are destroying your diet and your entire body. They are creating the problem, that panic, and then selling you the fix. Fat loss or weight loss, it's not as complicated as they're making it out to be. And there's no secret recipe or perfect plan. There's just simple science and common sense. So here it is. As always, no BS, no fear, no hype, and no sales pitch for a miracle drink, super supplement, or belly fat melting, whatever it is. What's more important when it comes to fat loss? Diet or exercise? Let's break down diet-only fat loss first. And then afterwards, we'll do exercise-only fat loss, and then a combination of the two to answer the question about what percentage of each is the best. But the number one bit of truth you need to remember during all this is that fat loss only happens when your body uses more energy than you put into it. That calorie deficit is the science-based foundation for all weight loss. But how you create the deficit is what matters most. Diet-only fat loss. If you eat fewer calories than your body needs, you will lose weight. But your body doesn't just lose fat during a diet-only plan. You lose weight. And that other weight, other than fat, is muscle. And that puts your body into fight mode because muscle helps control your metabolism, blood sugar, strength, balance, and long-term weight loss. And if that wasn't enough, as calories drop, hunger hormones, they increase. Fullness hormones, they decrease. Thyroid output slows down. And stress hormones, they rise. All of this is your body trying to figure out what's going on. And it's doing everything to keep you alive. It's thinking, what's all this negative stress? So dieting alone is real fat loss, but it's the least protective strategy. Because in the end, you could end up weaker, softer, more tired, colder, and more likely to regain all that weight right back. Exercise-only fat loss. Now, what if you don't change your diet and you just exercise more? Now, being a strength training coach, you might expect me to declare this the hands-down winner. There's your answer. Good night, everybody. But I'm all about the facts. And again, I got no agenda here, so put that credit card away. The truth is, exercise-only fat loss usually leads to less fat loss than you'd expect. Because the body and that part of your brain that you have no control over, the part that keeps your heart beating, your organs functioning, and all the gooey bits, the gross ones that they like to cut to in the doctor's show and you have to turn away like, ooh, it keeps them doing what they do. That part, it only has one mission, to keep you alive. So yes, you burn calories exercising, but that burn, it doesn't stop. Your metabolism, it stays elevated for hours afterwards. But with exercise comes more hunger. That's more calories. And since you're working that body in the gym, you might not want to move as much during the day when you're done. Those are those neat activities that I've talked about in past videos. But let's hold up for a second, because exercise can mean different things. How about just cardio? It burns calories, but unless you're busting your butt at very high intensity, that fat loss, it's just going to be middle of the road. And if protein intake is too low while you're sweating it out on the treadmill or bike, muscle loss, it could still occur. Resistance training alone. This is with weights, bands, and other heavy things that you lift. This is where it gets interesting. Strength training, it might not move that number on the scale as much as you want it to, because when you're losing fat, you're also gaining muscle, and the weight of each will cancel each other out. So like I tell people that I train, don't gauge your progress by that scale number. Go by your belt, how you look in the mirror, how you feel when you wake up, how others compliment you, and ask what you've been doing because you're looking damn hot. That's the stuff that matters when it comes to weight loss. Screw the numbers. And on top of that ego boost, here's the science. All that exercise is going to improve insulin sensitivity, build calorie burning muscle, knock down inflammation, and kick your metabolic health into gear. So exercise alone is amazing for your overall health and sexiness, but it's a weak standalone for fat loss. Diet plus exercise. Here's the answer you've been looking for. And again, it's simple, and you're not going to have to spend your hard-earned cash on useless crap. Because the research on this is extremely clear on this one fact. Diet and exercise, when they're paired together, you lose more fat, less muscle, and you keep that weight off longer. And here's why. Diet creates that calorie deficit. Exercise decides what that weight loss is made of, fat instead of muscle. Instead of your metabolism crashing, it stays higher. Instead of fighting your body, you work with it. This is why every long-term successful fat loss study ends up in the same place. A simple calorie deficit diet plus basic exercise beats every hack, gimmick, fad, miracle, this, secret, that, influencer, workout, belly fat melting elixir every time. Again, if it sounds too good to be true, it's definitely, not probably, definitely BS. The golden ratio, diet to exercise. As a strength training coach, I get asked a lot, how much diet versus how much exercise is needed for the most fat loss? And honestly, there is no exact percentage. But if you're looking to hit a fat burning target, you could try for 70 to 80% of that calorie deficit to come from your diet and the other 20 to 30% from exercise, because that's what the researchers say. Because diet, as we said, is effective at creating the deficits, and exercise is essential for preserving muscle and metabolic health. And trying to do it the other way around usually leads to burnout. And if you're there thinking, what about hormones? Because this is where the internet becomes a swampy mess of fake frauds, lies, and deception. Insulin, it does not block fat loss. Cortisol doesn't magically cause fat gain. And if you have questions about those, I have videos on them if you'd like to learn more. I'll link to them in the description below. But hormones, they respond to what you do. And if you overtrain or take part in extreme diets, your hormones, they're going to get upset. Yes, they do influence fat loss. But if they get disrupted, it's balanced nutrition, resistance training, sleep, and recovery that stabilizes them. And that's the difference between science and all that fear-based marketing being forced at you. So let's do this right and go over the common lies you should question. Here's some BS that's been floating around for some time now. Abs are made in the kitchen. Half true. Fat loss comes from diet, but muscle comes from training. Cardio burns more fat than weight training. Not in the long run, no pun intended. When you look at body composition, the ratio of fat to other tissue and mass. Extreme diets and workout plans give you extreme results. No, they actually give you extreme rebound weight gain and a whole bunch of disappointment. And to sum it all up, if it sounds too easy, too fast, or too good to be true, it's probably there to sell you something you don't need. Here's the answer to the question that we asked in the beginning. What burns more fat, diet or exercise? Diet, it decides if you lose weight. Exercise decides what you lose. Together, they outperform either one all by themselves. Every single time, no contest. And if there's a plan out there that promises fat loss with no effort, no hunger, and no training, that's not science. That's a sales pitch.